Welcome to the live reading with Intentions of a Mastermind Book Club. My name is Alyssa Luce, and we are reading Psycho-Cybernetics, the Deluxe Edition. We are on Chapter 9, which is the failure mechanism, how to make it work for you instead of against you. And we are all the way on number 3, Insecurity. So if you've never read this book or the chapter and you haven't caught the last live we did, the picture of failure is number 1, frustration, hopelessness, futility, aggressiveness that is misdirected, insecurity, loneliness, which is lack of oneness, uncertainty, resentment, and emptiness. So I'm really curious to see what the author has to say today. And if you're new here and you want to join the book club, it's absolutely free. Just check out the link in the description. If you have questions at any time, drop them in the comments. And of course, don't forget to subscribe. All right, so let's jump right into today's reading. It says, the feeling of insecurity is based upon a concept or belief of inner inadequacy. If you feel that you do not measure up to what is required, you feel insecure. A great deal of insecurity is not due to the fact that our inner resources are actually inadequate, but due to the fact that we use a false measuring stick. We compare our actual abilities to an imagined ideal, perfect, or absolute self. Thinking of yourself in terms of absolutes induces insecurity. The insecure person feels that he should be good, period. He should be successful, period. He should be happy, competent, poised, period. These are all worthy goals, but they should be thought of, at least in their absolute sense, as goals to be achieved, as something to reach for, rather than as shoulds. Welcome in, everyone. Since man is a goal-striving mechanism, the self realizes itself fully only when man is moving forward towards something. Remember our comparison with the bicycle in a previous chapter? Man maintains his balance, poise, and sense of security only as he is moving forward or seeking. When you think of yourself as having attained the goal, you become static and you lose the security and equilibrium you had when you were moving towards something. The man who is convinced that he is good in the absolute sense not only has no incentive to do better, but he feels insecure because he must defend the shame and pretense. The man who thinks he has arrived has about used up his usefulness to us. The president of a large business said to me, when someone called Jesus good, he admissioned, why callest thou me good? There is but one good, and that is the Father. St. Paul is generally regarded as a good man, yet his own attitude was, I count myself not to have achieved, but I press on toward the goal. Keep your feet on solid ground. It is insecure trying to stand on top of a pinnacle. Mentally get down off your high horse and you will feel more secure. This has very practical applications. It explains the underdog psychology in sports. When a championship team begins to think of itself as the champions, they no longer have something to fight for, but a status to defend. The champions are defending something, trying to prove something. The underdogs are fighting to do something and often bring about an upset. I used to know a boxer who fought well until he won the championship. In his next fight, he lost the championship and looked bad doing so. After losing the title, he fought well again and regained the championship. A wise manager said to him, "You can fight as well as champion as when you're the contender, if you'll remember to do one thing. When you step into that ring, you aren't defending the championship, you are fighting for it. You haven't got it. You laid it on the line when you crawl through the ropes." The mental attitude which engenders insecurity is a way. It is the way of substituting shame and pretense for reality. It is a way of proving to yourself and others your superiority. But it is self-defeating. If you are perfect and superior now, then there is no need to fight, grapple, and try. In fact, if you are caught trying real hard, it may be considered evidence that you are not superior. So you don't try. You lose your fight, your will to win. Number 4, loneliness. All of us are lonely at times. Again, it is a natural penalty we pay for being human being and individual. But it is the extreme and the chronic feeling of loneliness, of being cut off and alienated from other people, that is a symptom of the failure mechanism. This type of loneliness is called by an alienation from life. It is a loneliness from your real self. The person who is alienated from his real self has cut off from the basic fundamental contact with life. The lonely person often sets up a vicious cycle. Because of his feeling of alienation from self, human contacts are not very satisfying, and he becomes a social recluse. In doing so, he cuts himself off from one of the pathways to finding himself, which is to lose oneself in social activities with other people. Do things with other people and enjoying things with other people does help to forget ourselves. In stimulating conversation, in dancing, playing together, or working together for a common goal, we become interested in something other than maintaining our own shams and pretenses. We unthaw and become more natural. The more we do this, the more we feel we can afford to dispense with the sham and pretense and feel more comfortable just being ourselves. Loneliness is a way that does work. Loneliness is a way of self-protection. Lines of communication with other people, and especially any emotional ties, are cut down. It is a way to protect our idealized self again. Exposure, hurt, humiliation. The lonely personality is afraid of other people. The lonely person often complains that he has no friends, and there are no people to mix with. In most cases, he unwittingly arranges things in this manner because of his passive attitude, that it is up to other people to come to him, to make the first move, to see that he is entertained. It never occurs to him that he should contribute something to any social situation. Regardless of your feelings, force yourself to mix and mingle with other people. After the first cold plunge, you will find yourself warming up and enjoying it if you persist. Develop some social skill that will add the happiness of other people. Dancing, bridge, playing the piano, tennis, conversation. It is an old psychological axiom that constant exposure to the object of fear immunizes against the fear. As the lonely person continues to force himself into social relations with other human beings, not in a passive way, but as an active contributor, He will gradually find that most people are friendly and that he is accepted. His shyness is timidly beginning to disappear. He feels more comfortable in the presence of other people and with himself. The experience of their acceptance of him enables him to accept himself. Number 5, uncertainty. Albert Hubbard said, "The greatest mistake a man can make is to be afraid of making one." Uncertainty is a way of avoiding mistakes and responsibility. It is based upon the fallacious premise that if no decision is made, nothing can go wrong. Being wrong holds untold horrors to the person who tries to convince himself as perfect. He is never wrong and always perfect in all things. If he were ever wrong, his picture of a perfect, all-powerful self would crumble. Therefore, decision-making becomes a life or death matter. One way is to avoid as many decisions as possible and prolong them as much as possible. Another way is to have a handy scapegoat to blame. This type of person makes decisions, but he makes them hastily, prematurely, and is well known for going off half-cocked. Making decisions offer him no problem at all. He is perfect, and it is impossible for him to be wrong in any case. Therefore, why consider facts or consequences? He is able to maintain this fiction when his decisions backfire, simply by convincing himself it was someone else's fault. It is easy to see why both types fail. One is continually in hot water from impulsive and ill-considered actions, and the other is stymied because he will not act at all. In other words, the uncertainty way of being right doesn't work. Nobody is right all the time. Realize that it is not required that a man be 100% right at all times. No baseball batter has ever had a 1.000 average. If he is right 3 times out of 10, he is considered good. The great Babe Ruth, who holds the record of the most home runs, also holds the record for the most strikeouts. It is the nature of things that we progress by acting, making mistakes, and correcting course. A guided torpedo literally arrives at its target by making a series of mistakes and continually correcting its course. You cannot correct your course if you are standing still. You cannot change or correct nothing. You must consider the known facts in any situation, imagine possible consequences of various courses of action, choose one that seems to offer the best solution, and bet on it. You can correct your course as you go. Only little men are never wrong. Another help in overcoming uncertainty is to realize the role that self-esteem and the protection of self-esteem play in indecisiveness. Many people are indecisive because they fear loss of self-esteem if they are proved wrong. Use self-esteem for yourself instead of against yourself by convincing yourself of this truth. Big men and big personalities make mistakes and admit them. It is the little man who is afraid to admit he has been wrong. No man ever became great or good except through many and great mistakes, said Gladstone. I have learned more from my mistakes than from my successes, said Sir Humphrey Davy. We learn wisdom from failure much more than from success. We often discover what will do by finding out what will not do. And probably he who has never made a mistake, never made a discovery. Samuel smiles. Mr. Edison worked endlessly on a problem, using the method of elimination. If a person asked him whether he were discouraged because so many attempts proved unavailing, he would say, "No, I'm not discouraged, because every wrong attempt discarded is another step forward." Mrs. Thomas A. Edison. All right, we're gonna pause here in chapter 9 on page 159. We're gonna let in our mastermind members so we could talk about today's reading. And we actually have a new member joining us today. Welcome in, ladies. How are you guys feeling about today's reading?
Peace, everyone. I'm trying to get my headphones together. How y'all doing today?
I'm doing good.
Grand Rising. I'm doing good.
Good to hear. So today's reading was pretty interesting. I honestly, I would like to go through each one individually. But for me, talking about the insecurity part, I really felt the analogy of being insecure is standing on a pinnacle. And I got this visualization of, you know, those pillars in like the Greek architecture that they will put statues on. And I visualize like someone standing on that, like one of the really skinny ones, but it's like really, really high up. All right, because pinnacle is like the top. And that thought of standing on top of something really, really high, but it's not necessarily a mountain, right? But it's just a skinny little pillar. And you're looking all around. There's nothing to hold on to. You know, you could fall off if you just make the wrong move. So just imagine like how you would feel if you're trying to constantly put yourself at this level. And instead of just saying, you know what, it's okay not to be this perfect little thing, right? Not to put myself in a box, and just being okay with who I am, standing on solid ground, knowing I'm secure, and there's room for me to make mistakes and change and just try new things, right? I feel like that really helped me with understanding that chapter of insecurity. How about you guys? How do you feel about that one?
I don't know who was going to go first.
Go ahead, Dominique.
But yeah, I felt like it basically was telling me, like, I got from it, just do it anyway. Like, just go about it anyway. Like, don't be overthinking, so much. Because I was like that too in the past. So what I took from that is just do it anyway. Mistakes is going to happen. But like you said, you learn more from your mistakes than, your success. So I took that like, yes, like, just do it anyway, girl. Have confidence.
Yes, indeed. This chapter really resonated with me from that perspective too, because I used to be that way. And I feel like it came a lot from early childhood conditioning about being the perfect straight A student and always getting A's, always getting 100 on my tests and papers, and having a reputation like that. I remember in 8th grade, I was having some significant challenges with algebra. I just was like having such a hard time grasping it. And I remember one time I got a 53 on an exam, and the teacher wrote on top of the paper, "I'm disappointed in you." And that hit me, y'all, like such a gut punch, because a lot of my self-esteem had been built up around how well I performed in school. And it had been like that ever since I was in 1st grade. So now with this reputation of always getting A's, and then her writing this on my paper, and then one of my classmates happened to look over my shoulder and see it, and then he looked at me and gave me that, that tisk look, like like you done messed up now, and I'm just like, what? And at that tender stage of development, it really hurt my feelings and made me feel like worthless in ways. And it made me feel afraid to make mistakes and afraid to admit those mistakes as I continued to grow. So I've learned a lot ever since leaving the professional workforce and starting working for myself. I've made tons of mistakes, and that has really helped me build my mistake resilience muscle and be a lot more confident to just, like Dominique just said, do it anyway. Because just like Edison allegedly said, every time you get, make a mistake, quote unquote, it's just another a step closer of seeing what actually will work. So, like I told you in a couple sessions ago, how I used to tell my students, when we are taking tests, it's not to judge you to see what you do and don't know. It's to celebrate your strengths and then also see where we can improve. And I'm grateful for the experiences I had as a student, because then as a teacher I was able to help students release test taking anxiety because I used to experience it too.
Thank you for sharing. That's deep and that's bold of the teacher. You know, like,
Girl.
sometimes I don't think people realize, this opening sentence in that part of insecurity, it says like, it's not that are insecure because the fact of that we lack inner resources, but it's the fact that we use a false measuring stick. We have this idea of how things are supposed to be, and yet 99% of the time we're always wrong. We're always wrong. And like, it's things are never as we anticipate them to be, unless we have like this secureness and this confidence within ourselves, within our abilities, that is how things are supposed to be. And even then, it's like we don't determine how those things become. We don't determine what takes place in order for us to fulfill that desire. But where are we getting our idea of right from? Our idea of a success, our idea of whatever. And really consider, like, am I comparing myself to someone else who has had 10 years to become that successful person, and I'm just starting out a 1 month in? It's like, where are we getting these ideas of what right is? And we should always just reevaluate, really question, and be willing to come up with our own ideas of success and not compare it to outside images, because we don't know other people's journey. We don't know what other people have been through in order to reach that goal. So just really understanding that you need to be able to depend on something outside yourself, that higher power outside yourself, and know that you are made with the ability to achieve anything. But just don't compare yourself to other people, because I feel like that's what brings on insecurity the most. What do you guys think about that?
Yeah, I agree with that. And I always go back to conditioning from early stages in life. And I think that just the act of grading papers, putting scores on them, and then posting those papers on a bulletin board in the classroom is one of the first early ways that we start to compare ourselves to others. Oh, my classmates are getting hundreds and 90s, and I've got a 78. And so when I was in the classroom, I used to say the one thing that parents always feel like that parents used to always feel like they know what's going on in the classroom and they're experts at it. And that's the only reason why, is because they themselves also had a classroom experience. So they would think that they would know, but it's like you don't know from the teaching angle, and you don't know anymore because everything has changed. Everything is so different, right? But that whole idea of comparison is easy to to get into that mindset of conditioning with comparison, because a lot of people, I know some people haven't gone through the traditional schooling experience, but many people have. So when we have all gone through a similar experience that way, it's easy to, be fooled into thinking that we've all experienced it the same way, because we all went to the same classes, had the same courses, got the same coursework. And so if so-and-so had success in it, and I'm not having success in it, then something must be wrong with me, as opposed to realizing that no, nothing's wrong with you. You're just a different person and you just have a different lived experience. So the way that you orient yourself to this is going to be different. Oh, Alyssa, girl, where you go? Yeah, you feel me, Dominique? Yeah.
Yes, I feel the same way. I'm just over here like, yes, I agree to everything you ladies are saying.
Thank you. And honestly, what you were saying too, it's a really good example of what people think are facts are actually other people's opinion. But because it's a fact that I've been a student before, it's a fact that I've been in a classroom before, but my own experience is my opinion of how that went for me. And everyone is going to have their own opinion of what a classroom is like, what school is like, etc., etc. So don't believe opinions are facts. So I want to also talk about this part about loneliness and how sometimes people use loneliness as self-protection, but actually you could make things worse for yourself. And I love the example that the author gives, like when you begin to focus on others and serve others and no longer take focus on yourself, you actually feel better. And I personally have been through that stage because there was a moment of time in my life where I was always alone and I felt really bad. And then once I broke out of that, mindset, and I started coming from a place of I want to help people, I want to serve people, I have been at my peak for quite a bit now, like just feeling good all the time, feeling really content, really happy, really excited to get up every morning. Like, guys, I don't know if you know this, I don't want to wake up at 6:50 in the morning to come on here and talk to a phone. I'd be tired. Sometimes that's why I reschedule or cancel. But I'm like, you know what? I know someone out there is going to benefit from this as much as I benefit from it. And I'm going to just get up and do it. So, yeah, let's see. What did Joyce say? She said, it wasn't that teachers personally wanted to display students' work on the walls. In many classes, it was a requirement, and administrators would actually come to the rooms to do inspections to see if we had it up. I know my mom is a teacher. She would always have to change the bulletin boards periodically. But yeah, how do you guys feel about loneliness? Have you ever experienced, loneliness in your own life and your own experience of being?
Yes, I have. Like actually recently, well not recently, like 2 years ago, that's when I first started to like live on my own and be like, just really to myself. But at first I was like always like, welcoming family, siblings, like all of because it's 15 of us. So it's like all of my like some of my brothers, they just, liked it to stay with me just off my energy and stuff. I started to notice. But I just started to like see like the difference with me and them. Like, it's like, yeah, y'all can be over here and everything and, stay the night and everything. But it was just like, we were just on two like different paths and everything. It's like you can be nice and be loving with family, but it's also like I had to learn boundaries. That's when I started to be really like it's time to have boundaries. I don't do these things anymore, so I just need to have boundaries with them and everything. And I was scared about it at first. I was like, oh man, me living alone, I ain't gonna have protection. I'm thinking like, my brother's gonna, but then I had to realize like it's okay, like it's gonna be okay, like you got this, girl, like you got this. So I started to actually just I moved and I got my own apartment and I did it. I was like, you know what, I'm gonna really do it this time. I'm not gonna let no one stay with me. I was really scared about it. I was like, why am I really scared about it? Like I'm gonna be okay. It's a lot of us. This is my family's everywhere. I can just call. So I was like, I got this. So I did it, and then I just started discovering like a lot about myself that I didn't even know about. Like, I just started to really tap in and really start loving on myself by being alone. But I also noticed like, like I got over the fear. Like, it's not, so much bad, and it ain't, so much, Like I just was in my head about it, but then I started to realize like it's gonna be okay. Like, I still was giving advice and still being there for family. It's just I just was doing it, more my way, having boundaries and just protecting my peace too, because family could be a lot, and man, and but I just noticed and learned for myself like it's gonna be okay. And by me separating myself as well, I noticed too like they come to me for advice, for like any, like I just started to like, wow, I'm really am, like the stronghold in the family, like I because one day my brother and them used to tell me like, why are you so positive? And I'm like, why you not so positive? Like, what? How can you say that? So, and then now I get it. Like now that I like when I notice me living by myself and they calling me, like they just be wanting to just feel and love on my energy. And I was like, okay, I get it now. Like it's okay, and that will really like help me just to continue going on this journey as well. I started just trying to tell them, no, not don't do this, don't like just let them continue watching me, and that's what I learned too. So that's amazing. Like I love it. Like I learned a lot with that.
Thank you for sharing, Dominique. And I also want to point out too, like even though you moved alone, you're not actually lonely, right? Because you're still there for family. You're still able to help out. You're still able to connect with other people,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Yeah. So what about you, Joy? Have you ever experienced like those feelings of loneliness?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Especially like from similar to Dominique's experience, just when I started to do things more by myself and not with the crowd, and my learning more about me and energy and spirituality, started to take me away from certain interests that I used to be interested in, which means that I'm not being around the same people that I used to be around all the time. And at first it was challenging because you just don't, it's an unknown, and unknowns can feel scary. But on the other side of that is freedom, and it just got to a point where I was willing to go through those little periods of discomfort in order to experience the freedom. Was it this book we were reading in another chapter where he said loneliness is just a lack of oneness?
Yeah, this
Yeah.
one.
So when so on one hand we could look at it like, oh my goodness, I feel so lonely. But if we're feeling loneliness, it just is an invitation to explore our oneness more and how we can embody that more, because we can be by ourselves but still feel very present and very full without having to get into feelings of loneliness.
I agree. And I learned that, not too long ago. And like I said, I've been at my peak ever since, of just wanting to serve others. And the last part we read about today was uncertainty. And I also, before I, just changed over my lifestyle and my mindset, I don't know how I used to deal with uncertainty. I mean, I'm pretty sure I used to deal with it like the average person, like, trying to avoid it or trying to control everything as much as possible. Actually, I do know. I was the one that would procrastinate and avoid doing things because I wouldn't know, how things would come out. But now I personally love uncertainty because, like you just said, when you experience the unknown, it gives you a sense of freedom. And I love the ability to just, want something, desire something, to say, I'm going to go do something. Like I'm going to go for a hike to a spot I've never been by myself and walk for like 5 hours. I don't know what's on this trail. I've never been here. I don't know what I'm going to see or find. And it's just this liberating feeling that I'm like, wow, everything around me is so beautiful. And, I got to just spend time thinking and just being. And that feeling of, I don't know how, I don't know when, I don't know what is going to happen, but I just know that I feel good about it. It really is just a mindset change. When you're uncertain about things, instead of worrying, doubting, or negative goal setting, you can just anticipate the best and be optimistic about what's going to happen instead of trying to be over controlling or procrastinating. In that case, you get nowhere or you just hurt yourself more. So how about you, ladies? Have you guys Have you guys conquered the feelings of uncertainty?
I feel like at every level there's going to be new things that come up to be uncertain about, and at every level our nervous system gets to go through that recalibration process of being able to hold more space for uncertainty. So I would say, every day there's an opportunity to conquer it at some level. So that's where I feel like I'm at.
I agree. It's true. Because you're always changing and growing. So you never actually know anything. And I think it's really just about being okay with the fact that you don't know what you don't know. And just knowing that, you're only going to be giving things you can handle. You're only going to be put on a path that's going to get you closer to whatever you're focusing on. So it's different when you're focusing on things that, you don't want, things that stress you out, things that make you feel bad versus things that make you feel good. So when you're able to change your focus and direct your energy towards what you want, that uncertainty is a really great opportunity to just embrace change, right? Because change is an opportunity to clarify, connect, to conquer any obstacles and command your success. So how about you, Dominique? Did you want to add anything else?
Yes, I was just gonna say, you took the route when you said you don't know what you don't know. Like, that's exactly what I like stick in my head now. The minute I go to overthinking or being controlled, because that's what I was. I was just overthinking, so worried, so this and that. But now it's like, you don't know what you don't know, girl. Like, I just tell myself that immediately. So it's like, just be okay. Just know it's gonna work out. We don't know what we don't know, so just keep going. Like, everything's going to work out. Have faith, believe. So that's what I've been just taking in, like, really, really. I like that he said that in the your wishes command, like, you don't know what you don't know. I like that.
Yes.
So I've been sticking with that as well.
Thank you for sharing. All right, so before we close off today, do you guys have any last thoughts you want to give input on?
In last thoughts, I'll just say I'm very thankful to be here with you ladies, reading, and I'm going to be joining you. I got it all on my calendar now, every day at 6. So, I mean, not every day, but all the days, the 3 days out the week, I'm going to be here because I like reading as well. And I want to, be inspired and have a, group of people that I can, relate to. And that's like-minded. Like you said, you got to get around people that are like-minded. So
Amen.
In the action part, I'm like doing it.
Well, we're happy to have you and anyone else watching.
Yes, thank you.
Yes, absolutely. So glad to be in a space with y'all who, like you said, are like-minded on a similar frequency and amplifying that frequency so we can continue to grow. So I really appreciate and I'm grateful for this space.
Oh, thank you guys. I appreciate it too. I appreciate you guys showing up with me every early morning, every early rising. But if you want things in your life to change, you're going to have to change the things in your life. And this book, Psycho-Cybernetics, is all about becoming a better version of yourself, changing your self-image, and really aligning with the person you want to become. Because we're all, on a journey to be able to highlight our gifts. And as the author said, glorify our highest creator, our highest self, glorify God. And when you are actually living in that state and you're actually doing what you were put here to do, you impact so many people. And I'm just grateful to be able to have the space to provide and to share it with you all. So we'll see you guys at the next reading, and thank you for being here.